That's Nike's motto, which I consider to be one of the most important advertising slogans in history. Honestly, I don't know a better one. Feel free to write in the comments if you know of any better advertising slogans that describe the definition of success more accurately. And that is, just do it. I under the Nike logo, it says, just do it, just do it. And that's exactly the same as action solves everything, just expressed in a different way. If you do it, it will solve the problem. Yes, and what's called procrastination in English or procrastination in German basically means you're paralyzed, you're not doing anything. But this paralysis is actually self-imposed. It's not like another person or something else is forcing you to be unable to move. You're the one forcing yourself, right? Again, you are responsible for it yourself. You just sit there doing nothing and so on. Everyone experiences this. I had it myself for a few hours yesterday, I don't know why. Afterwards I thought, man, I didn't get anything done. What's actually going on here, right? There are phases like that, and you can only get out of them by taking action. Take the first small step, even if it's just a little bit, and often that already breaks the cycle and you think, whoa, amazing. And suddenly, in a second, you feel much better, and then things start working again. But you simply have to take that very first step. And the better or the more you train yourself to overcome that hurdle and take the first step, the more effectively you'll work in your life.
Not only that, Philip, the best ideas often only come while you're taking action, not beforehand. Planning is important, of course, but at some point you have to take the leap, and while you're acting, new ideas, new approaches and new directions keep coming up. That's why, folks, action solves everything. Next point. People function like a bicycle. If you don't keep moving forward, you start to wobble and fall. What I personally find brilliant about this is that it explains to you in really simple terms why comfort zones are especially very, very dangerous and toxic for you. Especially when you think, oh, now I've achieved what I wanted, now I should lean back, or I can lean back and I'll be happy if I settle into my comfort zone. Unfortunately, as paradoxical as it sounds, that's wrong, because it's movement itself that creates stability, not sitting back and being content with what you've already achieved. Of course, you should try to ground yourself from time to time and say, hey, I'm grateful for what I have. But resting on that will only have the opposite effect. Most people know this from their own experience, and those who don't yet will find out. It's unavoidable. As soon as you stop developing yourself, the decline begins, not a steady state.
Yeah, I think that's a perfect example that she gave here with the bicycle. As long as you keep pedaling, you move forward. You have stability. The slower you get, you suddenly notice that when you stop, it becomes unstable and you fall to one side, right? Or you have to put your foot down on the ground to regain stability. So that means standing still creates instability, while motion creates stability. And that's a perfect example we gave here. Let's read the next one. Point number 5. Failure is a learning experience. You can either make it a tombstone or a stepping stone. And in the English original, it's called tombstone that est the gravestone or the stepping stone. So stepping stone there isn't really a direct translation for that in German. You could say springboard, but a stepping stone is a stone that helps you take a step further. Yes. Yes, and I think that's exactly, look, the difference between, just to put it simply, these are always those kinds of phrases, winners and losers. But if we break it down to the absolute basics, the difference between a winner and a loser when they experience the exact same situation. Two people, the exact same thing happens to them. The difference between these two people, whether one is a winner or loser, is simply how they react to it. Both have the same experience. One of them says, oh my God, this has affected me so deeply and permanently. I can't help it. And now he lists 100 reasons why everything is so terrible. But the other one, the winner, simply says, maybe that was a tough experience, yes, but because of that experience, I became stronger. That experience showed me that now I can do this or that. So he uses this experience to learn from it, while the loser uses the experience to wallow in self-pity, right? And I think that's a really crucial point. Everyone has bad experiences. Kian has had bad experiences. I have had bad. Every multi-billionaire has had bad experiences. Now the question is, how do we respond to these experiences, which ultimately determines how we go through life in the future?
Next point. Too many people overestimate the importance of what they lack, but underestimate what they have and bring to the table. As a result, they become losers. Unfortunately, as satirical as it may sound, this is very, very true. Just to give an example. There are people who say, I'm going to start becoming an amazing trader, but I'm still missing the MacBook, or I still need 4 monitors so I can properly analyze the markets. Until then, I just can't manage to educate myself in that direction. And that's just a matter of perspective. Complainers, and that's the ironic part, usually have absolutely more than enough, most of the resources. I mean, you have the internet, you have a phone, you can buy books, you can read books, you can speak, you can write. Those are all resources you already have, which many people don't, but still want to get to the same place. That's why the most important thing is to initiate this shift in perspective within yourself, to say, instead of, I'm missing X, how can I use Y? And Y is what you already have. And successful people, this is the most important thing, often see opportunities precisely in these limitations and not the other way around, hey, I'm limited. I can only start once I have X, Y.
Yes, that's absolutely right. There's really nothing more to add to that. Let's move on to the next point. The level of self-confidence determines the level of success. I think there's a lot of truth to that. When you consider that, let's assume a person is quite good at something. But if on that day they have no self-confidence, no self, assurance, it's all in the name. After all, an awareness of oneself, it can happen that the person makes mistakes, even though maybe they want to perform a piano piece and there are 5 people watching and now they feel under pressure. They actually know how to play it, but at that moment the pressure is too great, their self-confidence is low, and that's why it doesn't work and the person makes a lot of mistakes. That's why it's really true. The level of self-confidence determines the level of success. That's absolutely right. If you don't feel good about yourself, if you convince yourself that you can't do it, if you find any reasons why you're not actually that good, if you start labeling yourself a loser or putting yourself down in any way, or if you let others put you down, then you'll have significantly less success because of that, regardless of how well you could actually do it.
Exactly. And self-confidence doesn't mean being arrogant. It's not about arrogance at all, but about having an inner certainty, being able to say, I can handle this even if it gets tough. And that's often the point that separates many people from success or failure. Because in the most difficult endeavors, it's really just about perseverance, and you simply have more of that when you're confident in yourself and your abilities to get it done. If you even have a little too much self-confidence, you're more likely to find a way to make it happen after all, rather than deciding from the start in your mind that you can't do it or won't be able to pull it off. So, next point. Those who reach the top in business, mission, writing, acting, and other fields of success do so because they are able to persistently and continuously follow a plan for personal development and growth. This builds on the previous point. It's not about making big leaps, but about taking small, consistent steps. It's about perseverance and consistency because especially in these fields, business, writing, acting, there are often setbacks. And the only people who usually overcome these setbacks are not the most talented, but those who simply trust in themselves, have inner certainty, and just keep going, always trying to take further small steps, even if the bigger picture might fail from time to time. Plus, they have a plan for themselves. So even if things in business aren't going as well as they ideally should, they work on themselves, improve and strengthen their own character, continue with personal development, keep training themselves, train their bodies, continue to eat healthily, and keep educating themselves. That means they consistently continue to actively strive for significant and continuous progress in their personal and private life, because this truly provides a constant, profound, and beneficial improvement that you can genuinely carry with you regardless of what precisely happens in your business endeavors. And it further substantially strengthens your inner certainty and overall self-confidence.